This is Collection Earth review of Sailormoon number 7. And like always, when you buy just one of these books, you're really getting a book and a half. This is a big chunk of the Sailormoon S story arc right off the bat. And it's a very thick book, and I very much recommend it for Hotaru fans. Now, there's a lot of content that a lot of people are going to find questionable. If you've not been following the series to this point, let me catch you up to speed. This is not a children's comic. Don't ever let anybody tell you this is for children. And you'll see why as we go along. But first, let's just take a look at the cover. As you can see, I have my Japanese print of the book and my English print right here. And as you can see, I'm also a Wal-mart shopper. I know, but what can you do? Shit economy. And as we can see, there's a bit of a difference in the cover here. A lot of people wrote in on my older videos and said that what I was looking at was not a complete color difference, that it was just a printing error on some of my Japanese books. I'm really not buying it anymore, because look at this. Uranus's skirt color is exactly the same. There's a slight difference with the Japanese print, but it's very slight. You've got to be anal to find this. The bows are the same color. The sword is the same color. Her skin color is not. This is not a printing error. Somebody at Kodansha is actively making these girls look a lot more healthy, and I, for one, am a fan of it. And I just want to point that out. Thank you very much. I hope I don't see any more snarky emails about it. On both covers, there's a lot of great detail work. I mean, look at that. You can see little wisps in her hair. That's just so cute and beautiful. Lovely artwork as always. And this time they got the spines pretty close. On some of the earlier books, there was a bit of a color difference. There's a slight one here. The English print is a lot more green in it. But this time it's a lot closer. On the back, we're treated to Chibi-usa. Not very often that they take liberties with making her look cute, but this is definitely one instance where they do. And again, we have our proper age stamp, ages 13 and up. And yeah, I have to agree with that reading this book. As usual, oh, I flipped it around like that. We have several pages that are in color. We have a very big scene here with everybody in bathing suits. And then we have this really awesome picture of the outer senshi. And this nice little picture here. I like this because you can see Chibi-usa and her mother with the same color hair. This doesn't happen very often. I just really like it. And then we have our opening flap. For the English print, they again cleaned up a lot of the artwork. Very nicely done. You can see a lot of details, specifically in Pluto's shawl. Sorry for the shaking in the camera. They brightened up the colors here, too. So there's more green in Neptune. It's very lovely. And again, I just like seeing mother and daughter looking the same. And the first page is, again, on shiny paper. I don't even care about that anymore. Also want to point out, too, before I forget, that as always, we get our cover spoiler, because Uranus is not supposed to have this particular outfit until later. We also have a spoiler in the back of the book. These two books just got listed on Amazon, and if you are a fan of mine, you will head on over to my Facebook page. I do have the links for all 12 books. Now I'm just waiting for the short stories. Now, I've mentioned in earlier videos that while the Tokyo Pop and the Kodansha prints of Sailormoon are pretty close together dialogue-wise, more towards the Sailormoon S arcs, there have been a couple of changes. This is one that I feel needed to be made because if you read it in Japanese, it just makes more sense. Now, this is the Tokyo Pop print. Sailor Pluto returns to life, of course, and she returns to action as Sailor Pluto. And in the Tokyo Pop print, Chibi-usa's first line is translated as, "That husky voice, that attack." thought that husky was kind of a mean word. I mean, this is your friend here. She just came back from the dead, and you called her husky? I don't know why Tokyopop did that. Well, this is corrected in Kodansha, if I can get the camera to behave itself there. And this translates literally from the Japanese book. This time the line is, that attack, that deep voice. And of course, if you're a fan of the first anime, I'm so glad I get to say that, you already know that Setsuna had a very deep voice there too. So this makes a lot more sense, and I'm glad they made this change. Not too many changes other than that. And I already got an email about this, so I figured I might as well address it. Yes, abhorrent is actually misspelled several times in this book. There, I found one grammatical mistake. Are we happy now? Can we move on with our lives? I really don't want to see any more emails about the grammatical mistakes. Kodansha is doing the best they can with a predominantly Japanese staff. I think they're doing a very good job, so please spare me the details about the grammar. Oh boy, I was dreading doing this part. Okay, so I promised you guys in the last video that I was going to address these two. Now, on the basis of technicality, they count as one person. That's why they're the Witches 5 and not Witches 5.5 or Witches 6. Go ahead and figure that one out. They're also kind of sisters, so you can play with that as much as you like. That's not the problem, okay? This is Sailor Moon. We're kind of used to this now. The issue is their names. Now, I hope you can see this as clearly as possible. I did put the HD filter on. This is their introduction in Japanese. And if anybody can read that, awesome. I'm going to try really hard to translate this, but keep in mind it's a little bit difficult. And there's a reason why. Now, one of the girls is named Cyprin, and seemingly everybody can translate that the same. Every DVD I've seen, both bootleg and official from Cloverway, has her name as Cyprin, albeit with different spellings. It's her sister that's been the problem. You see, when Tokyopop got the books, they didn't know how to translate her name either, because seemingly didn't really make much sense. A lot of people criticized Tokyopop for what they did. Now, in the dubbed version of the anime, they said her name really fast, and I can't actually tell you how they translated it. I'm just going to say it's Pitalal, because that's how fast they said it. It was once and never again. This is what Tokyopop did. Petite roll. Petite roll. I'm guessing they did this because, well, she, like Sailor Moon, has a roll in her head, Odango, and maybe it's because that seemed to make sense at the time, but it was a difficult change, and a lot of people hated it. So you must be asking, well, what did Kodansha do? They have a Japanese staff, and they're a lot better at reading Japanese than certainly I am. So what did they do? Well, they did the best that they could. They named her, oh boy, Pitalal. Now, this is actually the name they gave her when they subbed the anime officially, Pitalal. I have seen many people try to translate this name. I have seen so many spellings, it makes my head spin. But that's her name. We're just going to go with Pitalal from now on. And again, I apologize if, that comes across as weird. I'm trying to do the best I can, but this is not a very easy character. On the upswing, she dies really easy, so it's not like we have to memorize this or anything. As I mentioned on the Moon Sisters Facebook page, this is a really good book if you like Haruka. Not only is there a lot of her in this book, but she has more of a personality in this than she did in the anime. But here's something that I wanted to point out. Haruka and Michiru live together. They're about 16 at this point in the series. They're 16 years old. They don't have parents to answer to. Nobody exactly knows what if anything became of them, or if they even had parents. They just showed up. That's the end. And that's very interesting because over here, we don't allow that kind of thing. We don't allow teenagers to live on their own. But they're not the only ones. Makoto lives on her own as well, and she turns 15 in the S arc. This part is really pretty funny, too. This is how Tokyo Pop handled it, where Haruka and Michiru mention how much they have for rent. They translate Haruka's monthly rent to $2,000. And Makoto's like, my rent is only $500. Where did you get the money from? Now, keep in mind, Tokyo Pop printed these books right about 2000. So the yen to English dollars conversion was a little bit different back then. With Kodansha, they decided to do something a little bit different. They translate her rent as 1,000,000 yen a month. And Makoto's rent is 50,000 yen a month. So you might be wondering, well, how much are they really paying? Well, there's a translation note in the back for that. In the translation notes, they list Haruka's rent as $13,000 a month, while Makoto is paying $650 a month. So you can see that the prices have gone up since Tokyo Pop printed the book, and it's pretty amusing to think that a couple of teenagers can gather that money up together. You know, you only get to see this in something like Sailormoon. In America, we'd call Child Protective Services and stick all three of them in foster care. Talk amongst yourselves about how well that would work. Now, I did mention that this is a very big book for Hotaru fans. And with that comes a warning. If you follow my videos, you know that I usually give these warnings when I find something a little bit unsavory for the parents out there. If you have kids, go away. Tell them to go away. Tell them to skip ahead, watch something else, because again, this is not a children's book. Okay, now that I've warned you, I'm going to have to tell you this. There's a ridiculous amount of Hotaru nudity in this book. I'm not kidding. There is a lot of this. And yes, it was in the Tokyo Pop version as well. The reprint manga, they superimposed the planet Saturn over this frame. The rest of it isn't changed all that much. There's going to be a lot of this. And there's always a reason for it. For half of this book, she's going to be dead. And you're going to be seeing her naked soul. The other half of this book, they explain that Hotaru is not entirely all human. There's no blood in there. There's a reasonable explanation for that. Her father is insane, and I really encourage you to read this book if you want to understand Hotaru a lot better. And in case you're curious, this is from the Tokyo Pop print. Now, I want to ask something, and go ahead and pick this apart if you want to. I will be monitoring the comments. Is there a reason why you would think of your best friend only as nude 85% of the time? I have a lot of friends, guys and girls. This is not how the conversations usually go when I talk about them. What up with that, Chibi-usa? Now that I have a camera that's good enough for this, I want to address something else too. When I started Moon Sisters, about 4 or 5 months in, I opened up a page called Disturbing Facts. And if you'd like, the link is at the bottom of the video. I will warn you, it's not for children. I want to stress that. It's not for children. If you're under 18, go away. So anyway, I posted pictures up on that site only from the anime and from the manga. And you might recognize a few of those pictures in this book, albeit with, new translations. And if you have an explanation for this, I'm all ears. Why does her soul have an ass skirt? No, really, I mean that. Why does her soul have an ass skirt? Why? Now, in case you're wondering, yes, unfortunately, Chibi-usa dies in this book. But don't worry, she comes back next book, and Hotaru comes back like a little while after that. So, yeah, every Sailor Senshi that dies, they come back. Don't cry. Anyway, you see the two young victims, their souls, dead in the void, and you see them naked for reasons I don't want to know. And there's a bit of a difference here. You see, we have an ass skirt on Chibi-usa. Hotaru is completely naked. Ass skirt, no ass skirt. Then it gets weird, in case this isn't. So she finds her crystal again, and naked Hotaru tells her, lock it up, don't let anybody have this again. And Chibi-usa at first thinks that's her mom's voice, and then she's like, no, my mom doesn't sound 12. Oopsie poopsies, I just posted Hotaru's age. And then Hotaru saves her, and there's no ass skirt. Well, actually, there's... Okay, they put an ass... No, that's her hand. There's no ass skirt. So, what happened here? What happened here? Ass skirt? No ass skirt. Ass skirt. No ass skirt. Now, if you're a sane person, you're probably asking, why are these two naked to begin with? Why is this allowed at all? Well, let me explain something here. In case you're worried, Chibi-usa is 901 years old at the time of this book. So she's light years above the legal age. So at least that's something. Hotaru wasn't supposed to be born to begin with, long story. And at this point, she's a cyborg. So I guess if you're a cyborg, it's okay. You can debate that in the section if you want to. I'm a little creeped out, to be quite honest. Oh, another thing, this is going to be a very gory book. Lots of blood in this. Lots of awesome action. This is also the main book for Mistress 9 fans. Now, if you watched the anime, you probably felt cheated because she only lasted maybe 3 episodes tops. The manga's going to make up for that. There's a lot of her in this. And I think it's actually kind of cute that she addresses the fact that she's in a body not suited for her. She complains loudly, "This body is uncomfortable. Why did you put me in this human body?" Professor Tomoe not only put this villain into his daughter's body, he put her into a frail girl's body. Hotaru has always been sickly. So that actually gets addressed, and I think it's very cute, actually, in an evil, sadistic kind of way. Like I said, Chibi-usa and Hotaru both die in this book. And, well, with Chibi-usa, it's kind of bad, really. I mean, she climbed into Hotaru's house thinking that she could rescue her from, these people who keep wanting to kill her. And then Mistress 9 just reaches out, rips out the crystal, which is essentially Chibi-usa's heart, and then there's all this, gore here, and Diana goes nuts feeling it, and then her body just instantly goes cold and she dies. It's, really gruesome. They are not above killing the cute characters. But what's interesting is that the first person to get wildly upset and try seeking revenge is actually Haruka. Haruka is trying to remind Usagi at this point, that little girl you're trying to save? Yeah, she killed your daughter. That was your daughter. Don't you care about that? I think that's interesting. Up to this point, Haruka is very murderous, very much, Hotaru's 12, let's kill her now. Before that nasty puberty thing sets in. But here she actually shows compassion. She shows a lot of passion when she sees that Chibi-usa is no more. And actually, there's even a segment where she hesitates at the thought of finally doing the little girl in. There it is right there. She actually contemplates, okay, maybe this is not such a good idea. And it shocks Neptune, because she's like, since when do you have a heart? In the next installments, when we get towards Super S, that's going to be very important. I'm not going to spoil it here in case you haven't figured it out already. But I think it's very good that Haruka has more lines in this book, and that she's more compassionate. The anime pretty much stripped her of her personality. Oh, also, if you're a fan of Queen Serenity, this is definitely your book. They actually do make references to Silver Millennium and how these three should have tied in with the fight with Queen Beryl, and just didn't quite make it. You're going to see why Sailor Saturn is very important too. Unlike the anime, you're going to see plenty of Princess Serenity in this too, in her see-through gown. Why is it see-through? Why is it see-through? Your daughter's on the next panel. Why is it... Never mind. You're going to see a lot of her in this book, and there's going to be more of her in the next book, but I don't think I should spoil that. It's really awesome. And you're really going to want to purchase that next book. As usual, they treat us to a couple of spoiler pages after the translation notes. So you can see what damage Mistress 9 is about to do. And again, this book solidifies that Mistress 9 and Sailor Saturn are not the same person. By the way, little spoiler for next book. Chibi-usa and Hotaru are not the only people facing death. Don't worry, everybody comes back. It's going to be alright. They won't be dead for too long. But it's very nice that we're given a nice, clear view of what the next installment's going to look like. This is something that I think I'm going to put up on Moon Sisters eventually. I haven't gotten around to it yet, though, because I was looking for the right time. This may be as good a time as any to mention this. Now, this is the book where Usagi becomes Super Sailor Moon. And unlike the anime, Chibi-usa is not the only person to feel the residual effects. All of them end up with a slight power-up. Now, they're not super senshi at this point. We've got to wait till next book for that. Oops, spoiler alert. But everybody gets a little boost in their power because she becomes Super Sailor Moon. I think that's interesting. It's like a hybrid between regular and Super Senshi, but there's no title for it. And I'm surprised more fanfickers don't really address this. There's plenty in here about the history of Sailor Saturn before everybody was reborn at the end of the Silver Millennium. This is very much a very important book that addresses why nobody wants this kid to be awakened. And you're really going to have to read it. I'm going to warn you, though, it's one of those books you're going to have to read more than once, because there's a lot of little things that play into later issues. The artwork changes are usually slight between the Tokyo Pop and Kodansha prints, or rather I should say the original and reprint manga, but this one I kind of wanted to bring up. The original page for this, we're missing some eyes, a couple of mouths here. This is corrected in these books, and it's the same in Japanese as well. But as you can see, some of the eyes are drawn a little bit crooked, you know, like Mars now has the crazy eye a little bit. And Mercury looks like she's just heard something really messed up. And, well, she has, but you'll have to read the book to see. Now, there are circulating rumors that they may release the next book a little bit earlier than schedule. I'm going to keep everybody up to date on that on the 2 Facebook pages that are linked below, so please like, subscribe, and listen. Next video is going to be something quite different, but I'm not going to get into that for right now. For the collector, as always, I recommend getting the new English prints first because they are cheaper. I took a look on Amazon, and some people have actually been trying to sell their copies of these books. I can't verify how many of them are legit. If you try to find these books, it's going to set you back quite a bit. As will this. This recently just went up in price. But definitely, we have links at the bottom of the video. Please check them out. Please purchase your copy if you haven't already.